Alright, guys, so this is story time. I want to say a story about. I shared a picture the other day on the platform, my new platform, the Sportsman's Connection, of one of the best days me and my brother had hunting. And I shot my biggest buck that day, and he shot one of his biggest bucks that day. Uh, it was an awesome day. Basically, we started out with, we went hunting about 6 o'clock in the morning. We went up to the tree stand, and where we parked and where we hunt was about a mile walk. We walked up and we'd sit in the tree stand and watch a field, and it was one of our favorite places to hunt. Through this deer season, this was day 5, I think, of the rifle season in Missouri here. Pretty much we had seen, 5, 6 deer at least about every day of the season, but nothing that we were really wanting to shoot, because I had decided that year that I really wanted to shoot a decent buck, because I'd never really shot a decent buck. I was usually always just, kind of the first thing I seen I shot. So I told my brother that I really wanted to go after, a decent sized buck. So basically that morning, it was a Wednesday morning, and we had went up about 6 o'clock. We went up to the tree stand. We got settled in the tree stand. It was, about 20 minutes before daybreak. And we're sitting there waiting for it, and the daybreak comes, and it's a nice little cool morning. It's not super cold. It's just a cool morning. And we're sitting there, and we're kind of just talking about, whatever you talk about when you're hunting. And it was probably about 8:30. We were talking about maybe just getting out of the stand and going to the cafe to get some breakfast. And I told my brother, I said, I kind of want to sit here. I said, I kind of just want to sit here all day, because this was my last day of vacation off of work. And I told him, I said, I kind of just want to sit here and wait for, at least a decent sized buck to shoot, because this is my last day to hunt. I said, if you want to go, I said, you can go ahead and go. I said, I'm just going to stay here and hunt for a little while. And he's like, all right. He's like, well, if you sit here and you stick it out, he's like, you'll, more than likely end up seeing something today. And I said, yeah, it's kind of what I'm going for. So I'd say we're probably pushing 9 o'clock about this time. My brother starts to get out of the tree stand, and he's heading back to the truck. Well, I'm still sitting in the stand, and I figured I'm just going to keep sitting there, and, hopefully I get a decent-sized buck to come by. And, we didn't really plan to sit in the stand that long, so all I had was, a little bottle of Gatorade. That's all I had that day. But, I continued to sit there because I just felt like there was going to be, a decent-sized buck. So I said I was going to sit there. It didn't matter how long it took. I was going to sit there until something came out that I could shoot. Well, I'm sitting there, and 11 o'clock comes. I ain't seen nothing. Noon comes. I ain't seen nothing. Oh, it was about 12:30. I get a text from my brother with a picture attached to it. So I look at the picture. Well, my brother had shot a pretty nice buck. I can't really remember what it scored. I know it was pretty close to 150, if I remember right. 146, 150, somewhere in there. And, at that point, I was like, oh, man, I wish I would have just went with him wherever he went, Maybe I could have shot that buck. So now I'm kind of doubting my decision of staying there, of sitting in the tree stand. Because, if I would have went with my brother, I, could have had a chance at shooting the buck he shot. Well, basically, I guess when he left the tree stand, he'd walk down this logging road that goes into a field. And he'd walked into the field, and there was like another logging road that goes back into a holler. Well, he went back there, and I guess he's seen the buck laying up in the bluffs there. And that's where he shot that buck at. So at this point, I'm kind of getting down on myself, wishing I went with my brother and whatever, and it's about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and so I'm sitting there, and I figured, I've already been here this long. I'm going to go ahead and just continue to stick it out see what happens. At this point, I didn't have nothing to drink, and I'm getting super thirsty. So then, now it's about 1:30, 2 o'clock. I'm thinking maybe I'll just go back to the truck, get something to drink, whatever, and, just kind of call it quits. Because at this point, I hadn't seen a single deer. And up to this day, we had seen, a handful of deer every day. And this day, I hadn't seen any deer. So I was really starting to lose my patience and my hope on getting to see a decent-sized deer, or at this point, any deer, really. So, now we're about 2 o'clock, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I guess I'll just stick it out, because there's really only, about 3 hours left of daylight, and I've already been sitting here this long. Well, I'd say about 30 minutes goes by. We're getting close to, 2:30, 2:45, and I hear this noise behind me. I'm like, man, what is that noise? And I'm looking, and there's a log road that goes behind me about 80 yards, and then it takes about a 90-degree turn, and I hear something coming. I'm like, I know there's something coming up that road. I was like, it sounds like I heard a deer or something. I'm like, what is that? What is that? And I keep glancing over my shoulder. Well, the next thing I know, my uncle is walking up the hill. I was like, all right. So we'll see what he's wanting to do. Well, he walks up the tree stand. He's like, hey. I was like, hey. He's like, have you seen anything? I said, no. I said, I ain't seen nothing yet. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to go over the hill and sit in this tree stand right here and see if anything comes by me down here. I was like, all right. He's like, I drug this tarsal gland from your brother's buck up here on my boot. He said, I'm going to go out here in the field and tie it in a tree. He's like, so if something comes up, you can shoot it while it's trying to smell that gland. I was like, all right. He goes and ties it up, and then he goes and gets in his tree stand down the hill from me. And, at this point, we're getting close to 3 o'clock, a little after 3 o'clock. And I'm sitting there, and at this point, I am super, thirsty. My mouth is so dry. I'm just super, super thirsty. And at this point, I'm just kind of, waiting for the time to go by. And now it's not really so much if I see a deer. Now it's like, all right, now I'm ready for it to just be dark so I can get out of the stand, go get something to drink, something to eat. I've been in the stand for, 9, 10 hours at this point. So, we're about 3 o'clock now, and then, it starts getting into that evening time where everything starts to calm down, the sun starts going down, and I'm like, all right, here we go. It started getting better now. So, about 3:30, ain't seen nothing. 4 o'clock, ain't seen nothing, and at this point, I am getting super down. I'm super thirsty, ain't seen nothing, I'm starting to lose all hope. Well, about 4:15, I'm sitting in the tree stand, I'm looking across the field. This is roughly 4:15, 4:30, somewhere in there. I don't really remember the time, but I was looking through the field and I seen something moving. I was like, oh, what is that? And I seen something running at me, and I was like, oh, there's a deer. And I look, well, there was a doe running straight across through the field. I was like, awesome, there's a doe. Then I see another deer behind it running. I was like, oh, that's another doe. I said, I've been here this long, I'm just going to go ahead and shoot a doe and call it good. I'll be happy, get some meat or whatever. And I'm just slowly watching these does kind of just trot through the field. Next thing I know, I see something that, I hadn't seen before. It looked really odd to me. The doe ran around this big oak tree that had a cedar in front of it. So I couldn't really see the deer too well. I could just see their legs and stuff here and there. Well, she comes right out into the field, and I see her, and I'm like, okay. And she's running with her tongue out, just totally wore out. And I was like, man, she looks like she's been chased by a buck. I said, but I just seen 2 does. I was like, I don't get it. Well, then she comes out. Well, about 15 yards behind her, I see a deer run out. Behind her, the body, it looks like a super small deer. And I see this thing on its head that looks like a tree limb. I've never seen anything like this. It just looked weird with this huge tree limb looking thing on top of this deer's head. And then it took me about 4 seconds to realize that's a humongous buck. I thought it was a doe because I couldn't see its head. I could just see 2 bodies running behind this tree, and I could just see spots of them. I just assumed there were 2 does. So now I'm like, there's this humongous buck right in front of me. So I pull up my gun, and I'm using a .270, which when I was a kid and a teenager, and I loved that .270. It was my favorite gun. I've killed many deer with it. I pull the gun up, and the deer is running right at me. And I remember my brother saying, if you ever have a deer running right at you, and the only shot you know you're going to have is that shot, aim for the white patch in the throat and shoot. I said, all right. So this deer's just trotting, going back and forth, one leg to the other. And I put the scope right on its throat, and I see the white patch. And I pull the trigger, and I look up, and the deer's just gone. I was like, well, that was weird, and I see the doe take off running. And then I look, and I see this buck laying on the ground. He's just like dead, just laying on the ground. I get excited. I stand up, and I start, screaming. At this point, this is the first buck like this I've ever shot in my life. So I just start screaming. I'm super excited I shot this buck. And then I instantly, I'm shaking. I'm trying to grab my phone to call my brother. I call my brother, and, as he tells the story, he heard me shoot, and then he said it was like 30 seconds later, his phone rings, and it was me. He said, and he answered, and he just heard, dude, I just shot a monster. And he's like, all right, calm down. I was like, dude, I just shot a monster. And he's like, all right. And I said, he's starting to get up, because when I shot, I was aiming right here, but he was running like this. So when I shot, it hit right there and nicked his spine. Well, he dropped. Well, he got up on his front legs. He was still trying to move. My brother's like, well, if he tries to get up, shoot him again. And keep shooting him until he stays down. Make sure he stays there. I was like, all right. I said, so I'm sitting there and I'm getting super excited. Next thing I know, my uncle walks up over the hill. And I tell him, I was like, I just shot a monster. He's like, oh, yeah? He's like, yeah. He's like, I figured you'd shot a buck because I seen that doe run by. I was like, I shot a monster. And he looks out in the field. You can see its rack standing up in the field. All you can see is horns, about a foot off the ground standing up in the field. He's like, holy cow. I was like, yeah, and I'm just shaking. I'm trying to grab all my stuff together, trying to get out of the tree stand. I'm so excited, I about missed the steps on the tree stand and about fall. I have to bear hug the ladder, and then I slowly let myself back down. I get to the bottom, and at this point now I'm just trying to get, there's a fence right in front of the stand, so now I'm trying to get to this fence to get out in this field to look at this buck. And I get out there, I'm just shaking. He's like, are you excited? And I said, yeah, I'm excited. I ain't never shot a deer like this before. So I'm just sitting there shaking, and the next thing I know, my brother shows up. Well, and also, I called my brother when I was on the phone. I said, stop at the truck and grab my bottle of Mountain Dew. I said, I'm super thirsty. Bring it. He's like, all right. So he comes up in the truck, and he has my Mountain Dew, and at this point, I'm so shaken, I forgot about being thirsty. I don't even care about the Mountain Dew no more. And I'm just shaking. I'm like, dude, I shot this is a monster. He's like, that is a really big buck. I was like, yeah. And my uncle's like, I think I have pictures on this of this buck through the summer. He's like, I think this is that buck I called a crab claw. Because his G3 and G4 kind of come out like a crab claw. I was like, yeah. So, I'm super excited. This is by far the biggest buck I ever shot. It's a mainframe 8, but one of his eye guards is missing, and the other one was, only about 2.5 inches tall. Well, it's a 139-inch buck, 139-inch 7-point. His G2s were 13 inches. So he's super tall, he's super wide. I can't really remember how wide he was. I think it was like 20, 21, 22. Something there. I know he's quite a bit wider in his ears. But, I mean, he's just a ginormous buck. One of the best days I've ever had hunting with my brother. We both had, really, really, really good bucks. My biggest buck ever. I ended up sitting in the tree stand for, it was about 11 hours. I ended up sitting in the tree stand. I was so thirsty after that. I mean, it took like most of the next day for me to get like rehydrated. But, I mean, by far the best day I ever had hunting, period. There's been lots of good days. And most of them good days that I never even really shot anything. It's just, days I spent with my brother that was really cool days because as we got older, we didn't really have the time to spend together like that. So when we go deer hunting, I take a week off work, he'd take a week off work. And that was, our time to, be brothers again, like when we was kids. So, super awesome. One of my favorite hunting stories that I've ever had. If you guys have any great hunting stories, feel free to share them. Make a video, tag me in the video. I like hearing stuff like this. It's really cool to me. It's a really good experience I've had. Again, biggest buck I ever shot. Have it mounted on my wall. And it just, every time I see that buck, that's a memory that stays in my mind that I just enjoy. I have we have lots of pictures from that day too. So, but anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know down below. If you want to see any more like story time videos like this, let me know that, and I'll continue doing them. This is something easy I can do just while I'm driving home or whatever. So let me know if you like these kind of stories, videos of me telling stories or whatever. Again, if you have any stories like this, make a video, tell them, share it with me, tag me in it. I want to see them. I want to, I like this stuff. I like hearing the stories people have had. So again, I appreciate it, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for the view, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Thank you.